Hi guys, this is Scott, of course, CryptoBeast32 from BigONE. We have Stuart and Vibin, or Chris, and Jonathan as well. Just want to say hello. We're having a great interview about his project right now, INNBC. Yeah, and just excited to get this started. So my introduction is I just help with Canada and the US right now for marketing, and I'm going to hand it over to Stuart here.
Hey, hi, how's it going there in Canada? Thanks for the intro, Scott. Yeah, this is Stuart. I'm over in the UK, in London. I believe not the only person in the UK here today. Anyhow, I'm the marketing guy, do some PR as well. And in fact, I have been involved in medtech as a little bit, so I guess I can chip in a little bit later. So anyway, that's me.
How you guys doing? I'm Chris, aka Vibin. I'm admin over here at BigONE as well as Asia Blockcast. Came by today to sit in on an interview with my guys, listening to them and find out a little bit more about Jonathan's project.
Oh, hello, I am Jonathan Fior and I am the CEO of Innovative Research, and we are the company who issued INNBC, which stands for Innovative Research Coin. Right now I am from beautiful Greece, even though our team is based in Italy, in Milan. Right now I'm speaking from beautiful Greece. So, and I want to thank you very much for this opportunity.
No problem.
Well, can you tell us a little bit about your project, Jonathan?
Yes, of course. INNBC, as I said, stands for Innovative Research Coin, which first BioTech, which was issued in the market, and has its based on actual biomedical research. As I'm a research scientist, which I'm specialized in HIV and cancer research. And this token has basically two main goals. The first goal is to be used as a means of payment to access all the products that we are developing, as we have in the work an HIV therapy, which we tested on animals. So we are in the animal research stage, which is like the prior stage before going for human trials. And the other goal of the project was to use blockchain technology and blockchain technology to how can you use blockchain technology for biomedical research? So we spend a lot of time, and there's therefore such as the immutability of the pain and the timestamp.
Your internet might be messing up just a little bit, Jonathan.
Yes, can you just excuse me?
No problem.
I thought it was just mine that was having trouble, but then I could see Stuart blinking. Like, I don't know if this is.
Yes, sorry. Some people. Okay, so what I was, as I was explaining, and one of the most important features of blockchain technology is immutability and timestamp. Those two features combined together can provide you with proof of authorship. Let's say that I am a scientist and I'm working on some important discovery, and I want to be. One thing that I can do is to record this data on the blockchain such that I have a timestamp proving that this data was originated at this exact point in time, and then I can provide a unique reference to the author. The data to share data with anyone offering about authorship. For providing a proof of authorship, blockchain technology is ideal, as it provides you with a timestamp and altered, and biomedical data cannot be altered, as you never want this data to be falsified, to be altered. After the data is produced, it has to be permanently recorded as is. So if someone will try to falsify the data, you can always provide a proof tracking the original creation of the data. This way, you can create a permanent record that will protect the data from any possible alteration. So this is very useful for tracking data. And basically, but this in theory, how can you practically use blockchain technology for biomedical research? Because our goal was to provide a way for research scientists to practically use this technology for their work. And this was the toughest part, because we made a lot of research how we could create an application that could make this, that could allow research scientists to do this. And after some years of research, we were able to create a decentralized application with an extremely straightforward interface, which is connected with a smart contract, where basically you just press a button and you can upload data as text. And it's very, very easy. So, and as you are uploading text, you can also upload images and audio, even video, by encoding them into base64 format, which means that you can basically record any kind of data on chain. And what's very important is to make this process very, very easy, so that anyone would easily use the application. So it must be something accessible to a very large part of the audience, because research scientists are not very much into blockchain. I mean, they don't know, most of them don't even know cryptocurrencies. So you have to provide them with a very easy interface, so they could easily access the application. And for this reason, we also produced a scientific publication, a scientific article in which we explain step by step how can you use the application, and how can you really step by step we describe how can you use the application, so that basically everyone reading that article should be able to perform the operation. And this application isn't just meant for research scientists, even though we make some specific tests recording scientific images, recording scientific text. Basically, anyone who would like to record data on chain for providing a permanent record of that data for his work. Let's say also an artist. I'm an artist. I created an image and I want to provide a proof that I am the author. So I can just record this data on chain. Maybe you can record on chain like a lower resolution sample of the same image, so that the transaction fee is not that expensive, but that will be enough to prove that you really are the author. So also for other industries other than science, because this can be extremely useful. And as you can provide a unique reference to the author. So this can be for science, for art, or also for patents. Let's just think about patents. I mean, this could be perfect, for example, for patents, because it provides an exact reference to when the data was originated. And after some work, we found out that the cheapest way to store data on chain is to store the data as transaction input data. That was the cheapest way to store data. So we did a lot of research. We created several smart contracts, and in the end, we found what was the cheapest way to store data on chain, because it has never been done before to store data completely on chain. But our goal was to store data 100% on chain, and not just storing a reference to the data on chain and then storing the actual data off chain, like on some centralized file service, but to really have all the data completely stored on chain. That was our goal. As I said, this has never been done before, because the blockchain isn't really meant for storing large amounts of data, but we found a way to make this possible. So that was our goal. And even though in the beginning we weren't sure if we could reach this goal, but then in the end, I think we made it, because we made several tests And it was relatively inexpensive to store even images with a large enough resolution to be usable. Basically, we took some scientific images from previously published papers, and we uploaded those images on chain to show that it is possible to use blockchain to store scientific images. And the resolution was the same. We just used some JPEG compression to lower the file size, but the resolution was the same. So our DApp is perfectly usable for storing images on chain, for storing scientific images. And I guess we could store any kind of images as well, as I said, art, or it might be like images industrial related to some industrial application. So
That's amazing. That's kind of interesting. Like lots of people are trying to do it right now too. So your guys are kind of one of the first probably to look into this too as well, aren't you?
Yes. I mean, there really is no true decentralized storage solution. Like I said, what they do is they store a hash, which points to the file which is stored off chain. But what we did, we wanted to have everything on chain, so 100% through decentralized storage. And even if, I mean, in our tests, we were able to store images like paying $2 or $3 fee, which is totally acceptable. The highest fee we paid to store one of our previous scientific publication, because we ran a test where we basically stored all the text, all the images, all the data which was present in a previous scientific article that we published. And we paid, I think, around $50 for storing all the data, which was, I mean, a considerable amount of data. So, and $50 for storing your data forever, like you know that it's never going to be altered, it's going to be there forever, which no centralized storage can provide you with such a solution. I think it's totally fine. I mean, especially if your discovery, I mean, in science, maybe you made a discovery which is worth billions, and what is $50 as a fee for protecting your discovery forever? I mean, I think it's totally feasible. So,
do you have a question, Stuart or Chris?
Hey, yeah, I'll jump in if you want. Actually, I really like what you're talking about in terms of storing all the data on chain, because what got me into the crypto world back in 2017 was a device called Lampix, which actually projected a virtual computer onto a desk, and it used identification of images using a hash of those images. So, but that meant you actually store the images separately. So I like, just from that simple technical point of view, I like what you're saying. It sounds really interesting.
Yeah. How about you, Chris?
Yes, because you're really, yeah, when you just store the hash. Yes, I think.
No, go ahead, Jonathan.
Yes, I was just saying. Well, also all those solutions where you just store the hash on chain. I mean, you're using the blockchain, but you're not really using the blockchain, in my opinion, because in the end, you always need to rely on some kind of external centralized solution for the actual file, which is not what we had in mind initially. Found a way to smartly store data on chain so that it really is possible to truly store the data on chain. So storing the data 100% of chain was our goal.
So with you guys storing all the data on chain, is it going to be going to one server, or is it like, how is it going to be? What's going to be controlling that process?
Yes, basically the data. Yes, when you sign a transaction, along with the transaction data that is stored basically in the thousands of blockchain nodes, there's some data called transaction input data, which provides usually some information about your transaction. We used this particular space, this particular we use this particular place where the data is stored to store text. So basically, our smart contract allows you to store any text you wish as transaction input data. So you sign a transaction, and if you search for this transaction on the block explorer, you can find the text that you just input before. So and as I said, it's extremely straightforward. You just have to press a button. You just have to copy paste the text in the input field. You press the button, and then you search for your transaction on the block explorer. You just click to have your data shown as UTF-8, and that's it. You see the text you just uploaded previously. So.
And like you
It's
mentioned,
very easy. And
I was going to ask, just like you mentioned before, about the other data that you can save, like art and different things like that. Are you doing kind of like a separate project with that, or are you going to continue using that off INNBC as well, storing that data?
Basically, what we did here is something that is unprecedented, because INNBC basically supported all this development. And this is the first time where you have a scientific publication, where you have a scientific study, where you have a scientific work which is supported by a token. So this is like truly decentralized funding, as our laboratory didn't have to rely on the funding by the government or by private institutions. It was the token who directly supported this work. So this is the first time where you have a scientific work that is directly supported by a token. This never happened before. It's decentralized funding. So through the blockchain, through the token, we are decentralizing every aspect of biomedical research, starting from the funding. So decentralizing the funding, decentralizing the sharing of data. As another very important aspect of having the data on chain is that it's freely available to anyone, and most importantly, it cannot be there's no censorship. I mean, no one can delete the data. Sometimes you have information which can be deleted, but the blockchain is censorship resistant, which means that no one can obscure information. And information is freely available to anyone. I would say that by uploading scientific data on chain, you make the data belongs to the people, something like that, because it really is decentralizing, in a sense that anyone owns the data at that point.
That's amazing. So anybody can use this. It doesn't need to be a scientist to even use it. You can be an artist, you can be whatever you want.
You just have to press a button, copy paste the text, press a button, and that's it. You send the transaction, and you just go, and you will have the TX, the transaction hash, which is a permanent link to the data. And when you look for your transaction, you just have to, you will find the text you just uploaded. So it is explained step by step. If you go on our website, there's a link to the Decentralized application, in which there's an explanation step by step how to use the application. But it's really straightforward. Even a 10-year-old kid could use the application. So. And because, as I said, research scientists are not much into blockchain, so we have to make it easy for them. And
what blockchain is this going to be available on?
First, we use the Binance Smart Chain because it has the cheapest fees for now. We will also develop an Ethereum version as soon as Ethereum 2.0 will be available. As we also are strong believer in Ethereum. So right now, as we wanted to have our users to include as much data as possible with as cheaper fee as possible, we use Binance Smart Chain, as it's the chain with the cheapest fee available, and also it's the chain which is basically you can use the same code used on Ethereum. So as I'm also a developer, it's very straightforward. You just use the same smart contracts on Binance, and you're just you don't need any more additional work. But I'm a strongly believer in Ethereum because Ethereum was like the first. Ethereum was the beginning of smart contracts. So I'm just waiting for Ethereum 2.0 to hit, and then we'll also develop the same application for on Ethereum. As I'm really a strong believer in Ethereum as well. So.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, because Ethereum was the first one that allowed us to, actually put something as far as words into the vault of the blockchain, so to say, when it comes to this. So yeah, I think if you with the bridging, it definitely. So you would think like your overall goal would be on multiple blockchains. So somebody like maybe possibly building a bridge in the near future that could take you over to the Ethereum side or BSC or Solana or no matter the blockchain, but the technology that you guys have could be used on all of those.
Yes, exactly. There's also KuCoin chain. There's many chains which are basically the same base code, so fairly easy to port the same application over several blockchains. Right now, we as the first application, as the first version of our decentralized application, we use Binance Smart Chain because it is currently the blockchain with the cheapest fees available, as we're already using a proof of stake system, while Ethereum still using a proof of work. And I mean, this is normal because Ethereum has to convert all the pre-existing data, all the pre-existing protocol into a new system. While Binance Smart Chain started from scratch, so they could already start with the latest technologies such as proof of stake, which allows for cheaper and faster transaction fees. So Binance Smart Chain had the advantage to start from scratch. Basically, they didn't need to convert to port the previous data. So for this reason, we started using Binance Smart Chain, which also I believe it's an amazing blockchain. And I mean, we need competition in this space, but however, I'm still in love with Ethereum because it was like the first blockchain to bring you smart contracts. So I mean, it is still my first love, Ethereum. So
nice.
How about you, Stuart? Another?
Yeah, I had a question because I have dabbled a little bit in this area, and I was kind of curious because you're pitching it to the scientific community. What's the governance structure that you're going to put around? Obviously you're going to wall off scientists from artists because you want some kind of quality control governance. How does that all work? Because obviously, bearing in mind that in principle, blockchain is, data is immutable. What if, an issue arises with a particular scientific paper and, action needs to be taken? What's the what kind of governance, is involved?
Right. One of the things that being a research scientist, we also apply for research grants. For example, we apply for research grants by the NIH for our HIV research, and also we will apply for research grants for this kind of work as well. So our work may also be backed by actual government funds, as the government also has interest in developing this kind of tech because it really can help biomedical research. So there might be also government funds involved in this application. This is why it is extremely important to publish peer-reviewed applications. As a research scientist, all my work has been published. We produced several scientific publications in the past with regard to our HIV and cancer research. And another new thing that we are doing is to bring the peer-reviewed scientific standard into crypto, because this has never been done before. I mean, some people see a PDF uploaded on a website and they thought that is a paper, that is a publication. No. This has nothing to do with peer review. When you publish a scientific article, you send your article. There's an editorial board of leading experts in the field that will just look every single word of your article, and it is very tough to go through peer review because sometimes it takes years. As you have to reach a proper quality standard. They may ask you to read on the work 100 times. So only when they believe that the work reach the quality standard that is ensured by peer review, then they accept the work for publication, and that means that it is universally accepted as part of the scientific literature. So peer review is very tough, and it can take years, as I said. But this also ensures that there's a quality standard. And as I said, it is very important to bring peer review standard into crypto. And that is what we are doing. This is the first practical use of a blockchain technology for biomedical research on a decentralized application, and also we analyze the cost in terms of transaction fees. This kind of stuff has never been included in a scientific publication before. So what we're doing here is to bring for the first time all of this into peer review. And this is what allows research scientists to be exposed to this decentralized application, because basically research scientists, they look for scientific publications. This is where they learn stuff. So this way we will expose the decentralized application, the blockchain technology, to the scientific community. So we hope that we can make blockchain technology mainstream for the scientific community, because they simply don't know about it. They don't know the potential of the blockchain technology. They're not using it. One of the
quick question for you though, is using the blockchain going to make the peer review process better? Because it's not perfect right now. You know, there's been examples where, you know, so-called peer review hasn't actually, you know, done what it's supposed to do. I'm guessing that using blockchain might actually improve the peer review process. Am I guessing right, or am I just, you know, I'm curious what your thoughts are on that.
One of the things that blockchain technology provides you that it's unique for blockchain technology is that it provides you a timestamp, and the data is stored on thousands of different nodes, which means that it's permanently stored, and it cannot be altered. So such a result cannot be provided by centralized servers. So basically, it is decentralizing the data. It is something that is unique to blockchain technology, so that you know that the data was really created at that point, and you can basically track the data. If someone was using, for example, let's say that you produce some data, and then someone will take your data and will falsify this data for their study, altering the results, and for example, for saying that they achieved some results which are not real. Well, it is easy to say that this falsification was done because you can track the original data when it was created, and you can say this is the original data. And so you just use this data and you alter this data. But this data was created originally at that point in time. And if you record this data on chain, you can do this. While, for example, let's say that you do not record the data on chain. You work for 3 years on your study, and during those years, someone may steal your data. How can you show that happened? How can you say, no, I created this data 1 year ago if this wasn't recorded on the blockchain? Because when you publish a scientific article, you collect all the data, and only in the end, when you have enough data to publish, you will publish the data in a scientific article, but only in the end. You do not track all the data when it's created, every single data when it's created. While with the blockchain, we could do this. Every day, every time new data is created, we could record it on chain to create a history of the data, to track the data. And this is something that is unique to blockchain technology, in my opinion. So this is something that could change the way research is. Because as I said, even if you were to upload some data to some centralized servers, it still wouldn't be the same. It wouldn't be the same as having the data stored on 1,000 nodes with a timestamp, and true decentralization is what can provide you with a true proof of authorship. So this is why I believe blockchain technology can provide something unique, especially for biomedical research, but also for many other industrial applications.
I could see this in like mass adoption almost, in a way, like, not to blow it up, but like if you think about, like you mentioned, art, you're talking medical files for patients, for doctors, real estate contracts, bank contracts. This could be used for so much stuff.
And how will it so how will the token be used in this process? So is it going to be like the gas that's going to be used? Is the token the gas that's used for people to use the technology to store this data?
Well, basically, one of the main utility of the token is to be used as a means of payment to access or medical service. So basically, this means that the therapy that we are developing on the market are available, you can basically use the token to pay for the medical treatment. So in this way, the people who own the token own access to the medical service. Along with this, we will also use the application for storing the data from the patients, for example. So in a way, the token is always connected to the application that we are developing, even indirectly. Even though the direct utility is to access the products, the token is what made possible the development of the applications. So it is basically the engine that is moving all the developments. So
nice.
And of course, the decentralized application is what will also provide a lot of exposure to the token for the research scientists. And if our project become large enough, we also hope to be able to do something like launch pads for research projects, like funding most promising research. And in that case, the token could be used as a decentralized governance, where people could vote what are the most promising projects. I mean, this has never been done before in science, but it could really be amazing for decentralizing the funding of biomedical research, which now is entirely depending on government or on private funding. But decentralizing the funding of decentralized biomedical research would be something revolutionary, in my opinion, like a DAO for science, where every scientist will, maybe every scientist holding the token, they use the token for voting, which is the most promising research project. I mean, that would be amazing.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And I heard you say, I mentioned as well, like to get into a journal itself, it costs you $1,200 versus the $50 or whichever you were mentioning to put data on your blockchain. So that's a huge savings on its own too.
Yes, of course. People are not aware that also publishing on peer-reviewed journals is a cost, because the journal have to support the cost for the peer reviewers, for running the journal. So, I mean, for example, publishing on some journals which have a very great impact factor will cost you from $1,000 to $2,000, paying for the publication fees. And in comparison, just storing the data on chain is relatively cheap, which, I mean, there are two different things. When you publish data on a peer-reviewed journals, the data has been peer-reviewed, which means that it has been approved by an editorial team. So it's considered a part of the scientific literature. While unpublished data, which is you may publish it on chain before it's peer-reviewed, is considered like a preprint. So it's a way to share data which still has not been peer-reviewed, but you are sharing it as it can still be useful. So you know that this data is not peer-reviewed, but it's still very useful for sharing, just for the purpose of sharing data before peer review. And as I said,
that's a very good point, actually, because one thing I've come across is this kind of the problem in academia and innovation is that it's all very citation driven, right? Citations, is what drives your career, but what drives science is results, discovery. So if you've got a kind of a pre-peer review where you can actually work collaboratively over the blockchain, spend more time on research and less on just chasing citations, that could be pretty exciting, right?
Yes, and especially with coronavirus, it was extremely important, quick to share the results. So there has been some unpublished preprint work, unpeer-reviewed preprint work, which was still very useful, as those were the first results on the vaccination. For example, the difference in response between vaccinated and unvaccinated people, to make a comparison how strong is the immunity induced by the vaccination in comparison with natural immunity, as this data was just shared as a preprint data, as peer reviewing the data can take months. So as I said, because it's a very rigorous process, because the data has to be checked very carefully by the peer review process. So sometimes you just need to share the data immediately, and although you know that it's unpublished, it's not peer reviewed, so you are taking the data, you're taking this into consideration, although having a way to share the data immediately is very important. And in this, for this, the blockchain can surely be extremely useful, as you could just upload the data on chain and make it readily available to anyone, to everyone. So
yeah, no, it's almost like it has its own like peer-to-peer, like a peer-to-peer feature. The same way, like peer-to-peer in cryptocurrency or with Bitcoin, you could send money. These doctors and scientists could almost do peer-to-peer with their research and all of the case studies or maybe even surgical procedures and stuff like that.
Yes, exactly. I mean, if you think about the blockchain is basically a record of data, which is transaction data. But as I said, you can just place any text you want inside those blocks of data. So in this case, we are using a strategy to place their text, images, even audio and videos. In our publication, we stored a short video showing the regeneration of a salamander limb. As this is amazing seeing this it was a small video, but that was like the first video ever stored on chain. I think this is amazing, just thinking that and if you think about it, this video is going to be forever stored. No one can change it, no one can alter this video. So whatever information you put there, it cannot be deleted. So I mean,
and you think this in the future you could see this tying in with like AI and potentially like the medical robots that are coming out, they would be able to store all of this data and have all these different procedures already internal inside of the computer, so to say, and have all this information stored so they could do come up with the best solution for or a sickness or a virus or something like that.
Yes, that is entirely possible. I think the blockchain has like a very at least from my point of view, it's a very easy way to allow users to upload their data on chain. As I said, you just press a button, you copy paste the text, and it doesn't really take a scientist to use this application. So I think that this is one of the most important things to make this application mainstream. It has to be extremely easy to use, very accessible, and then it also has to have a wide variety of application, and it has to be able to upload several different kind of files, because as I said, using base 64 algorithm, you can open the door to basically a very large number of files that can be translated into text and then decoded back to files. So it was also important, because if you were just limited to storing text, that would be limiting. But opening the door to images, audio, and video, they introduces a whole new level of utility.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
I really like the idea of this. Like, I could see a real future for this in blockchain and like for your project. Like, I'm excited to see what direction you guys go in with this all. Like, there's so many different avenues that you guys can take as a project too as well, beyond the medical field. Like, I'm super excited for you guys.
Yes, exactly. What we do in medical field can be applied to basically a big number of different industries as well. So as I said, and explaining and making this easy for research scientists which are not into blockchain technology, because research scientists, most of them don't even know what currencies are, means that we are basically making it extremely straightforward for any kind of user. So
That's awesome. Any closing questions from you, Stuart?
No, again, like yourself, Scott, fascinating, fascinating area. I guess, you know, the point that you can, you know, really encourage collaboration of, you know, scientific work before it gets peer reviewed, I think is pretty exciting. So I'll just, you know, go with that. I'm excited with that.
Yeah, for sure. And how about you yourself, Ivan or Chris?
I mean, I like it. I like the idea. I mean, this to me is like, you know, I travel a lot, right? So like for me, when I'm traveling, like I don't carry around, you know, my insurance card isn't international coverage, you know, like, so to be able to have my medical files there with the push of a button or two, that's exciting. That means that I could jump off a couple more cliffs, you know, and I could live a little bit more extreme. So I'm excited.
To be able to pull up that data wherever you are. That's what I'm thinking about too. Like I travel to the Philippines sometimes, and to be able to access stuff that you might not be able to access somewhere else. You mean like who carries around some of their information or whatever? If you had your medical files, like I know this is biomedical research, but say you had your medical files with you, if you had some kind of issue and the doctors didn't know about it and you had it, and you're able to tell them about it and they could look it up, you can imagine that could save you. And
I mean, I woke up when in Thailand. I was in Thailand and I was out having a good time, and then I woke up and I was in a hospital. Now imagine me being an American. I wake up in a hospital in Thailand. I don't speak Thai. They didn't speak much English, and they don't know who I am. I don't have an ID on me. I don't have anything. And you know, we're looking at each other like Spider-Man, like, yo, what are you doing here? Why are you here? And I'm like, why am I here? You know, and it just so happened, I to slip. I slipped when I was running in the rain and just hit my head and blacked out. But, you know, if it would have been a way for them to easily, you know, figure out who I was, it probably wouldn't have been as awkward when I woke up. You know, when I woke up, it was really, really, really awkward. And they didn't know how to handle me because not having an ID, not having any type of medical insurance, nothing that had my information, it made it really hard. So I couldn't imagine if I would have had something where I could log into my medical record, say, this is exactly who I am, and it's okay to treat me with this and that. You know, they don't have to worry about liability and stuff like that. So I think it's, like I said, it's a good way to share research.
Yeah, that's a perfect application. The blockchain allows you to say that this transaction is associated to your data, and if this is recognized as the legit transaction, this is going to be the data that it's considered legit. So no one can falsify this data, and it can be officially recognized as your data. As he said previously, you will have a transaction which has a unique TX ID associated to your data, and that will be recognized internationally by anyone as your data. So this is also potentially an extreme useful application of blockchain technology. So
could even be passports, more or less. Like you can store your passports on the blockchain.
Oh,
yes,
yeah.
in fact, you talk about identity when you associate the timestamp with the information on the blockchain. You create something that you call like a digital fingerprint. So it's called identity.
Oh wow, that's incredible.
Nice.
Well, Jonathan, I appreciate you taking the time, even though you're in Greece right now. I appreciate you taking the time to like visit with us and actually tell us about your project. I'm super excited. I'm so glad you guys are on BigONE. And I'm certain that we're going to see a lot more of you in the future too as well.
Yes, sorry for the inconvenience we had in the beginning of the conversation. So, and we are extremely excited about being on BigONE. As I said, we have been quite some years now on BigONE, as it's the main platform where we direct our users, because we believe it's an amazing platform, and we believe it has the potential to compete with the top exchanges. So we believe there's no reason why BigONE couldn't be like one of the top exchanges, like being it has all the right cars to be one of the top platforms, in my opinion, as the interface is beautiful, the application is very good, and there's very fast deposit and withdrawals, and our users feel very comfortable being on BigONE because they know it's a safe exchange. So we are very glad to have such an amazing platform supporting our project. So and we always say to our users to use BigONE because I want my users to feel safe. I want them to know that they are using a platform they can trust, because one of the most horrible things is like having your funds stuck in some kind of shady exchange. So while using BigONE makes me feel extremely comfortable about having our users having their funds on BigONE. So this is why I really love BigONE.
That's awesome.
Nice
Well,
one.
and we appreciate that too.
I strongly believe in BigONE, and during the years we made a lot of like initiatives like airdrops and stacking, and we always use BigONE platform because it is a platform that you can trust. And also being centralized, one of the other advantages of centralized exchanges with respect to decentralized exchanges is that as we are using ERC20 standard, you save a ton in terms of transaction fees. So the users will be able to purchase the token, to store the token without having to face very high transaction fees, which are associated with decentralized transactions, which happen on chain. So the advantage of centralized exchanges is to allow users to save dramatically in terms of transaction fees, especially for Ethereum. As just to make an example, you can deposit like tiers C20 USDT, saving on the transaction cost. Then you can buy INNBC. You can store. You can keep the token on the exchange wallet. Basically, you save a ton on transaction fees in comparison with buying the token on Uniswap. Just making an example. So it also allows our users to save a ton in terms of transaction fees.
Perfect. And then one last question for you. I know I'm going to put it at the description of the YouTube video here, but what is your website name?
Yes, it's www.innovativebioresearch.com.
Okay, perfect. And I'll make sure to include that at the bottom of the description for everyone that's watching. And again, like, we appreciate you taking the time with us today. And I'm sure we'll meet again and maybe potentially have another interview, because we definitely next time maybe have to talk about your Italia blockchain party, maybe.
Oh, yes, that is. Yes, that is something related to one of our political initiative, and that is something extremely unique. As being an INNBC, one of major cryptocurrencies in Italy, we also hope that we can bring crypto not just into science but also into the government. I mean, this is a very, very big goal, but you never know.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you so much, you guys, for all attending, and we will see you next time. I'll end the video here. Have a great day.
Peace, guys. Have a good one.